Okay, friends, in the past, I've tried to find a good off-ramp to end the war in Ukraine, because in order for a war to stop, you kind of have to have the political will mechanisms to make it stop. Maybe that doesn't make sense, but in a political sense, it does make sense. So guys, the important thing is that if we're going to make a political off-ramp, this is essentially selling an idea. And who are we selling this idea to? The people in Washington. So we have to speak their language, their language of metaphors and visions and their interpretation of history.
Russia is a gas station masquerading as a country.
Which is very important. And so I think the key way to sell this idea, Berlin Wall 2.0. So what do I mean by Berlin Wall 2.0? Well, friends, if you see this video that's covering up my lovely face right now, you should see some old footage of the Berlin Wall falling. And guys, from the standpoint of a Washington politician, this is one of the moments of pure triumph. In fact, this moment when the United States essentially beat the Soviet Union by kind of tricking them into spending too much money on nukes, using sanctions, basically all that sort of art of war stuff where you defeat your opponent without ever really fighting them that much, it succeeded. And it worked. The art of war worked in Washington's favor, and perhaps the fall of the Berlin Wall, for your average, congressman, that's really their, whether they know it or not, that's sort of their defining moment of triumph. And the whole I want to say divided Berlin. The whole divided Berlin thing, or divided Berlin, however you want to say it, that whole era of, during the Cold War, that there's this physical barrier, the Iron Curtain that divides the city between the oppressive communist East and the free western part of the city that's kind of still surrounded on all sides by communists, but whatever. They never really expressed that very well when I was in school. But anyways, it really was a nice visual. And you could see that, people would want to sneak to the western side of Berlin, and not that many people snuck to the eastern side. You see what I mean? So it's a nice visual. It really speaks the language of Washington. And that's why I think if the Russians were to essentially, through closed channels, were to actually try to sell Washington and maybe London on the idea of splitting Kiev in half. Can you imagine it? Berlin Wall 2.0. They should even say that. Berlin Wall 2.0. They should tell them that they're going to take some of the eastern parts of Kiev. They're going to put this amazing wall through the middle of it, maybe right through Maidan Square, because that's extremely visual. Oh my gosh. The square where people rose up for freedom is now divided by an evil Russian concrete barrier. And on the eastern side of that barrier must be all sorts of horrors because they're the bad guys. It's so visual. It's so Hollywood. It's so Washington, D.C. military-industrial complex. Oh my gosh. They might actually buy that. And I may sound like I'm trying to be snarky or sarcastic, but I'm actually kind of dead freaking serious. People in Washington would go for that, because if they were able to get this Berlin, occupied, divided Berlin scenario to happen, that essentially would give them that long-term goal that they want, an infinite location to dump money to. Because as long as there's the threat of the evil forces from the east coming into West Kiev, they can just keep dumping money. More and more money, and it can just vanish and vanish and vanish, and it will be amazing. It'll give that idea speaks Washington's language. It really gives Washington what it wants on the surface of, again, this sort of like being able to say that they kind of sort of won the war, that they're protecting the West from invasion or some other BS. They can spin that however they want, but deep down it gives the military-industrial complex all the that black void that it needs to throw money into in order to continue engaging in corruption. So I think that is an interesting idea and a good potential off-ramp, because it is so visual, it is so Hollywood, it is so average ignoramus congressman. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Am I an idiot? Am I naive? You tell me. So anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video and you like the opinions coming out of my big fat mouth, then join up on my Telegram channel. That's Tim Kirby Hardcore on Telegram. Link of course, in the description.